Which areas do you think men are struggling right now?
What they're struggling right now, I would say it is with connection, and also belonging. So identity, I would say yes, identity is one of the biggest things, because the old ways that existed that we believe was the heroic man and the man that did not feel any pain, it died. And you also see how women are evolving on a mental, from a mental perspective. If you just compare men between women, then women are here in terms of development on an emotional state. And that's a problem, because as a man, you become more and more unattractive because you're not aware of who you are. And women can smell, it's like a shark in the water when you lose blood.
Yeah.
They smell that. And I think when it comes to identity, like, what is true masculinity? It's not the alpha Andrew Tate stuff. It is really, are you grounded? How do you deal with adversity? And understanding that there's a difference. Understanding that you have agency. When different things happen in your life, you have agency. If you understand this, you go a very far and long way, and you will avoid a lot of unnecessary situations.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Zen Now. And if you're a man over 30 and you feel like you keep restarting your life every few months, this episode is going to hit home. I've got Coach Dewayne with me today. We'll be breaking down why so many men are stuck in that loop, and more importantly, how to finally break out of it. So help me welcome Coach Dewayne. Welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. And I'm excited to, hop on this podcast and just speak about relevant things that are also concerning me. But I think for everything, there is a solution.
Before we get into the titles and the labels, where are you right now in headspace and, just in the physical space?
Mm-hmm. Well, right now I'm in a season of building intentionally. And yes, I'm a coach, but first and foremost, I am a man who is doing the work, because it's a never ending process. That's how I would describe it. And getting very honest with who I am internally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I actually saw something yesterday on Instagram about there's a female on the podcast saying only women are doing the inner work, and men are not stepping up to the plate instead of, in this case, which I totally disagree with. I think a lot of men are doing or beginning to do that inner work, so much so, and also navigating the everyday life, which is also not easy, to how to express themselves and also to be vulnerable. How do you feel, if you hear a statement like that? What would you feel?
Well, if you're grounded in your person, I would say, then it will not affect you, because you are not the man she's referring to. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. It is more, you understand that you're doing the work, and I'm doing the work. And when I hear those things, obviously we have to think it is 2026 and the attention span has been at an all-time low. So if she would have said, some man don't do the work, how likely it would be that this post would perform properly in today's social media, And I believe that, and I reflected on a post that I saw, and it said, today it's either extreme, if you are neutral, and if you are actually trying to bring in balance, your engagement does not go up a lot. So you constantly have to feed an extreme to actually reach people. And I saw this with my content because I did the Lower Down Sickness Challenge from Nick Commodian. It's a great creator. And it was very interesting because I was speaking about things that were irrelevant. Like, for example, and this was just to test and see, because this was something I really wanted to test. And I said, Naruto is better than One Piece. Now, there's no relevance to this, but people defended it. Like, they had very strong reactions to this. And this only happened because I had a controversial or conversational topic, I would say, took a stance and didn't give no explanation. And these type of posts do exactly that. They reach people and they try to provoke an emotion. And that's how those posts reach you. But I also understand your point of view, because I also was thinking about this. And there was a time where I also thought about those responses and those posts, and why would she say that? Because I'm not like that person or like those people she's describing. But on the other hand, it's really The moment you get grounded, it doesn't touch you because she's not speaking to you, and that's how I deal with these type of posts.
I love that because it's such an important topic that you bring up is being grounded and walking away. Well, not walking away, so to speak, because you choose your own inner peace, instead of engaging with discourse, so to speak. And a lot of it now has come up as well with the new Michael Jackson movie. Watching it, it took us back to our childhood days, growing up with his music and just the rhythm, the feeling, moving your body, just the pure art, of his craft. And you take so much of that from the man himself, who was just being pure and being who he was. And on the other hand, people are were more interested in the controversial side of it, and they gave the movie not the rating that it deserved because, like you were saying, the engagement is more on the extreme than instead of the positive side of life. And I've seen it firsthand, where I believe people are really attracted to Discord, and that gets the more engagement. If you're trying to punt positivity, it doesn't get that much of engagement compared to Discord. And I feel like a tug of war between the two, because at one point you also want your numbers to go up, but then also you want your message to be a positive one. But then you always come back to grounding. What is it that you're trying to portray forward? What is the message that you're trying to get out there? And we all get sucked into that vortex. Did you ever feel like that at one point in time? You always felt, okay, I need to change my direction of how I want to be a coach instead of just following the narrative.
I would say this started at a very early age, as I would say that was around, let's say 12, 11, where I realized that I had a hard time connecting with other boys, or also later on in life when I turned older, men, because it was very stereotyped and not reflective. And I would go back to the Michael Jackson movie because I watched it also with Peggy. And we celebrated 3 years and 11 months. So soon for 4 years of relationship. And the Michael Jackson movie also showed something very, very special about the whole journey that he been through. Meaning Michael went through undescribable pain as a child, because I find that the movie, the focus was more on marketing than on depth. I personally will say this because the way they showed certain scenes also of his father was very kind of them, how they described it. And also there was a question, why was Janet Jackson not there, because she was missing.
Right.
And Michael deserves a depth, but the message here, to not get lost in the sauce, is that Michael turned his pain into something very unique, and he stayed true to himself, deep side the whole tabloid noise. And that is also a message for man, I would say, that you can take from Michael Jackson, because he stayed true to himself. And that's why his music, when when Earth Song starts, there's already some goosebumps on your skin. You already know this. Or when you listen to Off the Wall, so underrated. The instrumentals, amazing. But all of this only happened because he was in touch with his inner world, and he expressed it through his art. And I think that's something that we need to understand as man, that the power comes from within, but you need to look inside. Otherwise, it is very, very difficult for you to excel, because you can have the money, you can have the fame, you can have the women, but this is all superficial, because you are putting your time into something that is time bound. And when tragedy happens, then if it's time bound and you haven't treated people properly, when you're sick, let's say you're diagnosed with cancer 4, people will not be around, because you only chase those things. But if you have something that is timeless, so values, morals, principles that you follow, that is something, no matter what happens, even if something happens in life that throws you off your path, you will have people around you because they know that your soul, just like Michael was, is pure. And I believe that goes a very long way, but it doesn't give you instant gratification. And I think that's what a lot of men are looking for. If I do this, for example, why do you train? Yeah, I want to have more arms, more chest because women like it. At the end, you figure out that more guys like your pictures than women do. When you get more buff, you have more male followers.
Yeah.
And that's the funny part. But then you realize there's something deeper to this. And I believe that movie also gave me another reminder of the direction I am going and I'm pushing for.
Core values is such an important part of that message as well. And one of his core values, I think, for most, is hard work. Hard work over. You can have talent, but if you don't put in the work, it's not going to manifest. And that's why keep showing up, even if he didn't show up every single day or to a certain extent to the max. He did something contributing towards his goal that he wanted to be the greatest of all time. And that's the kind of message I take now in my life, is that even if you show up just 10% compared to yesterday, or even you don't have to go 100%, but you show up in incrementals, it contributes to that ultimate goal. Because sometimes we can get lost in I pushed so hard yesterday, okay, I'm going to just take a rest day today. And we forget that sometimes it becomes your normal then, and it extends to the next day, to the next day, to the next day. But if you keep the consistency up, it doesn't feel like you actually working hard, but you are actually working hard in the background to contribute to that. And that's the message I take from him, is he honed his craft. He was talented, but he also worked, very, very hard. And I think a lot of men now also trying to also work just as hard on the inner self to get to that point where they can finally feel grounded and feel kind of accepted that we are who we are in every single sense. We are single entities. We're not robots, and we do have feelings and emotions that also need to be expressed at certain times and not feel judged about it. Did you ever at one point in your life have that kind of objection, or you had that kind of reservation about yourself that I couldn't express myself, or I don't really feel that I can?
Yeah, of course. There have been a lot of moments where I realized those situations, but it's also important to understand that for you to speak, there needs to be a safe space. And when you do not know what a safe space looks like, if your environment never showed you a safe space, then it can be hard to trust, because your brain will always choose a known hell over an unknown heaven. That is like, your brain is not always in your best interest. That's something very important to understand, always. It took me some time to understand this, but also creating a safe space for yourself, understanding what do I need for me to feel open and safe in speaking, communicating, because obviously the fear, I think, of a lot of men is I will be taken advantage. I will look weak when I'm vulnerable. But understanding that vulnerability and being aware of what is going on, of your emotion, because it's just something that is in motion, that you learn to deal with it. Because you can imagine there's like a graph that goes up and it goes down. And what you learn from early age on as a boy, the moment it goes up, stop crying, stop being a girl. So you're taught to not deal with your emotions. So the moment emotions rise, and if you do this long enough for many, many years, the moment you feel that sensation, you're already numb. You already try to cope with something else, if it's substance, drugs, whatever it is, or you're trying to cope with something. So you never learn to deal with that emotion. And that leads, obviously, to, I would say, sickness. Like, you can think yourself sick. You can also keep tension inside your bodies. I also believe very strongly that if you do not have any path of releasing emotions, then it will make you sick. I truly believe in that. So if you never have that, or if you never had that safe space to express your emotions, then it becomes very difficult. And I had to learn this. And I also understood that this is part of the human experience, to experience emotions and deal with them and observe them and not be controlled by them. You can feel them, but not be controlled by the emotion. I think those are two different situations. You're in total different situations.
Mm-hmm.
But that needs to be learned. And I believe a lot of men do not have those role models. They don't have the environments. And then you enter into a relationship. Suddenly your partner is actually calm. They don't yell. And then you're like, what is this? What is going on? So for your system, it's totally weird that you're like, well, what do you mean? We just had a fight or we had a disagreement and now we're speaking calm. And that's unknown. So your brain will be like, okay, something's off, and that's something, if there's no awareness, that's very, very difficult, because as long as you stay unaware or in an unconscious state, it will always dictate your life. Always.
And that hits me personally as well, because I brought all of my unlearnings into my relationships, and those mistakes, occurred, and differences of opinion were expressed, and mistakes happened, and I had to learn very, very quickly that what we were, or what we perceived as normal, was not normal in our family homes. What we saw from our dads or from our granddads and uncles and etc. Wasn't the normal way that like men should be expressing themselves openly and honestly. And look, there's no fault on their part. It's just, their generation were dealing with what in that time of era, what they were dealing with, so on and so forth. But now we have the responsibility to change the narrative right now, because the past cannot be changed, but the present and future can still have an impact on your life personally and for the next generation. And even those people around you, for your colleagues around you, they can obviously look at you as a role model and say, hey, okay, how did you deal with that situation? And you can be that safe space for them. And I totally hear what you're saying. It's for me, sports was the outlet for how I expressed myself on the sporting field, because I felt safe there to be who I wanted to be. And so that's kind of like where I expressed most of my emotions, and which felt good. But also I knew, okay, that's not the end all and be all. Was there also an avenue where you could express yourself and just be you?
Where I learned this, and that's also my creative side of enjoying acting. And when I was in London, I was living in London for 1 year. And that's where I also looked deeper into who I am and what I feel. And that internal work really leads you to opening up, learning how to actually express yourself and not just numb yourself with going to the gym. That's also something, because a lot of people say gym is therapy. I'm sorry, it's not. It's not therapy. It's not therapy, and that it may be a current relief, but it will not deal with your undealt childhood trauma that you never addressed.
Right.
That will just not do the job for you. So you need to seek some kind of support. If it's friends, if it's a therapist, there's nothing wrong with that. Looking up a therapist and actually speaking about what you went through, what you haven't processed, what you realized, reflecting on your last relationship or relationships, whatever that may be, and learning from there. And I believe that is something where a lot of men just need to look into deeper, and understand, is this something I'm just coping and trying to numb myself, or is this actually something that is helping me, bringing me closer to who I am and also understanding myself?
Yeah.
And yeah, through acting, that's where I also learned it, but also through modeling. So I realized the creative part and also creating content is a very important part for me. It's also personal development, but also building my own business, also the coaching, the Atmavira method. It's really the product or the method that I needed in earlier phases of my life. I wished I really would have had that, because it gives you structure and it actually helps you to not feel overwhelmed with everything that is going on, especially when you're a man and you're a teenager. One of a sudden, you have more responsibilities, and then you're there with, oh, I still have quite a lot of things to process, but somehow there are more and more things happening, and life feels faster and faster and faster, and then you're like, okay, wow, that's very interesting. Now I'm in my 20s, mid-20s. Now I'm entering my 30s, and now I'm my mid-30s, whatever it is. And if you've never done that work, if you never looked internally, then it will get to you sooner or later in your family. And the moment you have kids, at least that's what I don't have kids, but I want to have kids. But at least what my friends say with kids, they say, children never do what you say, they do what you do. So important.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
important. And they see everything. So everything you
Oh, yeah.
haven't healed, they will expose that. And that will be very uncomfortable, but only uncomfortable if you're not willing to change that for the better of your family.
Yeah. And I think we love that experience as well of what we saw. And now we're not calling that out, but we're just kind of bringing it up to the surface. And probably maybe uncomfortable for our previous generations to understand and learn that maybe what they thought was normal is not normal anymore. And kind of also maybe, I don't know if they, in retrospect, take it on board or they don't. But that we cannot control. We cannot control what other people think and what they do. But what we can control is our approach to life, basically, and what we see and who we engage with. Uh, I think is very important. I actually did a kind of detachment exercise yesterday. So we have, in football, we have WhatsApp groups with friends and mates, and after the game, you kind of talk about the game. And Man United played yesterday, and they won 2-1. It wasn't a very controlled performance, but at the end of the day, the result is what matters, and that was important. And as soon as the game ended, all the guys started picking on the negative side of the performance. And I thought to myself, I just posted something like, "Gents, just enjoy the win now. We can complain tomorrow. Enjoy that victory today. Enjoy it that we actually won the game, and now we're closer to Champions League. Towards the goal that the club is moving towards, and just stay in the moment right now." But it kept going on and on and on, and I realized, I said, you know what, guys, this is too much negativity for me. I'm out. And I stopped engaging with that conversation because I realized I don't want to contribute to something that I'm happy about right now. And yes, I will, in hindsight, look back at the game and say, okay, the performance wasn't there. X, Y, and Z it hasn't done. But I think we do so much of negative thinking that we kind of forget that also there's the positive sides of everything. And as maybe we kind of want to fix everything instead of also trying to live in the moment. And does your coaching include something like that for your clients to kind of be present in the moment?
Yes. I also implemented neuroscience because it is a part that I realized when I started off as just the fitness and nutrition. I realized that there were deeper parts why some people just stuck to it and some people didn't. And there was a reason I wanted to understand why that is. And that's pattern. So pattern recognition, you need to understand first, you go through different dimensions, 4 dimensions. So it's physical structure, nervous system regulation, self-leadership, and then you go to environment and inputs. And each dimension has different frameworks you work through. And this is really a deep dive. It's not just surface level, track your macros and go to the gym. Everyone can do this. Now with ChatGPT or Claude, you just go there, you have a workout plan, you have a nutrition plan, and they're doing a great job. So that's not a problem. But the problem is execution. Because you can have the greatest plan, you can watch 500 YouTube videos and feel like you're productive. And that's the feeling of you can be moving, but don't mistake movement with progress. That's a difference. And so you have structured frameworks that work you through each dimension. And once you completed the first dimension, which is physical structure, so it's your body, that's when you understand, okay, you have awareness of the situation, you build the foundation, and then you move on. Then you move on into different phases, because inside one dimension there are always 4 phases you have to walk through before you go on to the next, because they're all connected. It's a complete ecosystem that makes you understand, okay, where am I right now? And most importantly, bringing awareness to who I am. That's the most important, because the lack of awareness will keep you stuck no matter what you do. You cannot, this is what I always say, you cannot win with a dysregulated nervous system. You cannot win that fight. You will not.
Yeah, it's important that you say that, because if somebody's listening to this right now and they just taken aback by, the 4 stages, because sometimes we live on autopilot. To say somebody's listening to this right now and is trying to change, what's one thing that you would advise them just to start with? Just not from yes, to do this and this will happen, but something that they would take onto themselves and say, okay, let me start with this. What did you do to help you start on your journey?
Awareness. That's the most important. Awareness. So bringing awareness to your And that's why that's why it starts with physical structure. Everything runs through your body. If your body is not proper, it's also very simple to remember. It's the rule of 4. I work with this also inside my coaching. So it is, you have your nutrition, you have training, recovery, and sleep. Those are the elements. If they are not in tune and if they're not in sync, you will suffer. It's the same with nutrition. If you do not feel properly, if you have an important meeting, if you have a presentation, you don't feel properly. If you go to the gym, you want to perform. If you're not feeling your body properly, what do you expect? It's similar trying to race or go on the streets and race a race with a car and the fuel is the wrong one. Like, just imagine doing this. Like, what happens with your motor? What do you expect? You will not be able to perform. It's very simple. And the same goes for recovery. Are you regulating yourself, or are you constantly overstimulated? Because if you're constantly overstimulated, you're not going to move the needle, you know? And sleep, are you taking care of your sleep? Are you getting enough rest? Are you getting enough rest? Do you feel recovered? Because we all know, wake up on 2 or 3 hours of sleep and someone asks you a stupid question, your reaction will not be the same as if someone asks you and you've slept 7 or 8 hours. You'll be irritated. You'll be pretty quick. Like, your nerves will be at the top very quick. So, and you see, all of this is always connected. It's all connected. There's always a connection. So first part is awareness. So where am I? Who am I right now? And start from there. If you bring awareness to the situation, where you are, write it down, take intentional time to sit down, take a piece of paper and write down where you are right now, what you're feeling, where you are, where you want to be, who you want to become. And that's the first part of everything, bringing awareness to who you are.
And is that where you think most men are struggling right now? Is the awareness part?
Yes, the lack of awareness. It comes to dating. For example, it's a huge topic. A lot of women are disgusted by men because they believe the bare minimum is already asking like too much. For example, dressing properly, taking care of your skin, deodorant, taking care of, your teeth, it's these kind of things that they're lacking, but also manners, respect, values, communicating properly, understanding boundaries, understanding healthy communication. These are all things that are very difficult. And you can see from a fact that women are more aware, obviously, because women are not told, shut down your emotions. They are very in tune with their emotions because they feel and they express. Why do women get older than men, or most of the time men die earlier than women? There's a reason for that, because they are able to express. And there's a beautiful book, The Body Keeps the Score. Great recommendation. Must read to understand what happens if you do not learn to express what's going on inside, because it will eat you up. It will get to you and you will get sick. Like, that's guaranteed. That's what I would say. It's a hot take, but I will guarantee you, if you are not dealing with your internal world, you will get sick sooner or later. It will be with depression. It will be with whatever may come. It can even be, God forbid, some kind of disease you do not want to deal with. And you wouldn't have gotten that if you probably would have did that work. So yeah.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this short break.
Hit that follow button so you don't miss what's coming next, because every episode is designed to challenge you, ground you, and elevate you. And if you know someone who needs to hear this, share it with them. We're building something real here. Stay connected. Stay present.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, interesting that you mentioned presentation as well. And I look at the younger generation, male and female, kind of like Gen Z type, and how they present themselves in public. I don't know. It's kind of takes me back to when we were in school, and every day, we had uniform when we went to school. And one thing my mom always instilled in us was, make sure your shoes are polished and clean before you go to school. Obviously, during school, you're playing, whatever it is, and but every single day you come home, you make sure your shoes are polished and clean before you go. And that was instilled in me very young. And now that's kind of like my pet peeve is untidy or dirty shoes. If I see somebody with that, and I'm like, okay, just take 2 seconds before you leave home, just wipe it a bit and just maybe have it look presentable, because that's such an important aspect of life is how you also present yourself to the public and to yourself, within yourself, because you're taking care of yourself. Like you said, skincare was never part of our makeup as males growing up. We probably just wash our face, put lotion on, and then head out. We didn't have to actually take care more of that side than female. But right now, we all have skincare routines, we all have night routines, and that's good because you're taking care of yourself. It's never too late to start as well, because yes, we don't understand the dynamics or the nuances of what products do what, but we are learning to know that we need to take care of our skincare, just like females do, and men also have obligation to ourselves to do that, because how you present yourself is how confident you are going to be. Because if somebody comes at you negatively, okay, today I feel good, and I can be grounded in that situation and manage it in a certain way. So it's important. I love that you brought that up, because it's so important how we present ourselves to the opposite sex as well, because even our partners, like my wife and your partner Peggy, we want to show up for them as well, not just for ourselves, because they represent us and we represent them.
Yeah, definitely.
Do you agree with that? What are your thoughts on that?
100%. And as you can tell, everything cycles back to the physical structure, because that's the first layer you need to start with, which is your body. And you can argue and say, oh yeah, but this is superficial. But I, for example, say, try to get in the best physical shape ever. You need to have this experience to really be in a great shape, because it's more than just the looks or the aesthetics. It's also your health. It's your mindset. It's a whole transformation, a mental transformation you go through, because your body can get used to feeling like crap. It can get used to it. So it's your norm. It's your default to say, oh, lack of energy, or I'm just like this. And, you can spiral, or you get to experience. And is it going to be hard? Of course. But that's what defines the value of it. And that's what I find so important, that people understand this, that everything comes back. And the same goes, I also want Peggy to find me attractive. So that is something I'll make sure that I'll, put in the work. But first and foremost, it's for me. That's very important.
Yes.
That's the most important. But also, that's why I put in the work. It's also later when I have my kids, I want my kids to see, oh, Dad is an active father. Like, Dad looks different than the other parents. And that doesn't have to, it has nothing to do with being better. It's just being different. That's very important. So that is also something I want to show up, because I also want to install this into them, that they need to understand, like, yeah, Dad, how did you do this and that? How are you doing this? Or your son or your baby girl sees you doing pull-ups or push-ups, and they're like, wow, because kids they want to be taken with you. Like, if you're doing your workouts, I don't know, you have those little cute things where you can wrap them around, and have like a little extra weight, you could take them, and they have fun. They enjoy this, but also you teach them from early age that movement is something that is very important, because it also helps your mood. And I believe depression is something a lot of people are dealing with. So that's also something, that's why I say movement, nature, taking care of your body, everything leads to a healthier mind and body and spirit. And that's why it's so important. That's why I start with physical structure, because it is the foundation for everything you want to do in life. If you get older, imagine you cannot get up from the toilet. You need someone to wipe your butt. How uncomfortable is this? Or women being marketed to do not lift weights because you're getting too bulky. That is BS. That's straight BS. No, you need to strengthen your muscles. It's more than just the aesthetics and looking great in a bikini. No, it's more than this. Do you feel great? Do you have a regular menstrual cycle? These kind of things, they all play into your mood, PMS, all these kind of things. It will just benefit you in the long run. And that's why I say, for men and women, it's so essential.
Yeah. It's an important point that you bring up, because before, when we were younger, it was more about, the physical side of life and performing at a level of whatever you need to. But right now, it's more about longevity. How long can you stay physically active, in terms, like simple thing like just lifting a spoon,
just hiking,
getting
for
up
example,
or walking.
Yeah.
Your hip flexors are so important nowadays. You realize as you grow older, they get tighter quicker and much stiffer after some physical exercise, and the next day you feel it. But I always, that DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness, comes after the 24 or the 48 hours after the activity. But if you have your recovery, you won't really feel much of it. Maybe you might feel slightly uncomfortable, but it's not as extreme as if you have not done the recovery work. And I think, coming back to your point where you said engaging with weightlifting and just strengthening, it will benefit you in the long run. Because I look at we look at our grandparents and some of the older generation, and some of them couldn't even get out of bed, later towards the end of their life. And we would think to ourselves, no, I don't want to be in that situation. I don't want to be in that
Exactly.
kind of dilemma where I am dependent on somebody else, like you said, to wipe your butt or to take you
Exactly.
to the bathroom, or even just to feed you, a simple thing like that, just to feed yourself. So in hindsight, yes, we all need to make sure that we do those important steps so that in the long run it'll benefit us. But also right now it's benefiting us right now because we are able, and we are physically strong to do that right now. So I would, like you said, like your message is, there's no harm in lifting weights. Even if it's a 1 kilo, 2 kilo, start somewhere and then you can build yourself up. There's no right or wrong way to do it, but just make sure you get, you are ingesting, what's the word I'm looking for? Honest coaching, honest feedback. Because we can all just take it from the internet and, oh yes, okay, I'll try this. But sometimes there's so much of information out there. It's important that we also advocate for good people who are actually trying to have the best interest of heart for you. Like yourself, you have a structure, you have core values, and you're the kind of person that somebody who would love to be coached by, because you also have the softness. I can hear that just sitting with you right now, you have the softness, your feminine side and the masculine side, kind of balance. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I get what you mean, but it's also having it's I think what you're also trying to say is also having empathy, because that's very important with coaching. It's having empathy, and first and foremost, listen. Be an active listener. Most important part when you work with people, listen to where they are, because you need to first understand where's their mind space, where are they coming from, what have they dealt with, what have they seen, what did they not process properly, and then you move on from there. And I think that's the most important part, because I also work with a lot of women, and I believe the most important quality is really to be there for someone and actually make them feel like they're seen and mean it and be honest about it. And that's always one core truth for myself. Always be honest, no matter how painful it is. Now, you do not need to be an ass when you say things. There's also, you have a responsibility of delivery, but it's still very important to be honest, because if I am not honest with you, I'm not serving you properly. It's really a disservice, because I'm taking away growth, and that's something I'm not cool with. You rather not like me, and I'm cool with that, but I'm honest with you in a respectful way.
Yeah. There's a song that goes, "Don't hurt me with a lie, like
Yeah.
rather lie, like
Yeah.
rather tell me the truth and I'll deal with it." And actually, yesterday, just my previous guest as well, a good friend of mine from back home. Leadership is something that he does very well. And he said something very interesting to me. He said to me, when you're leading people, you don't listen to what they're saying. You listen to what they're not saying.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's a very good one.
Yeah.
I like that.
And
I like that.
That really hit me, because that's a sign of a good leader. He's actually taking care of his surroundings. He's observing, and he's not just taking what is what presented to him, but he's also listening to you for what you're not saying. Because sometimes, like you said, we all go through things in life, and something might happen that you're not comfortable expressing, but your body language will show it. Your physical presence will show it. And I think that's a sign of a good leader, knowing what people are not saying. And coaching is part of that, because it's part of man management as well. And do you have that? Yeah. Is that something, if somebody comes up to you, do they express that honestly, or they just, or do you have that kind of sense within you to pick up on things like that?
Yes, obviously. I mean, I've been in the coaching field now for plus 10 years. And what I can say is this: just by the first part of actively listening to what someone says already gives you so much insights. And then you need to ask open-ending questions that give you more insight. So, well, what do you mean, Kishen, when you say this and that? Can you go more into detail? Yeah, it's this and this and this and this and that. And then it's very important to also spark emotions. Like, what is their emotional attachment to that situation? Why does someone react that strong? Why does someone react in a way like, I don't like what you said. Well, maybe that person, it is not about what I said, but it was, they felt like their identity was attacked. And that's where
Right.
you realize when you speak with someone, people defend identities. They don't, they are not, that's not a problem with what you said. It's more, they feel an emotion to what you just said because they have the feeling that you're judging them, even though you're not.
Right.
And that's identity.
Yeah,
So they're protecting identity. It's the same with this debate. Quick side quest with one health expert and 20 body positivity activists. And she, before the debate started, she read what the claim was. And people, you could tell the complete, I think it was 1 hour 50 debating with over 20 people. And they all were defending identity. No one said that people that are overweight are bad people. That's not what was said. But the claim was you cannot be healthy because the claim is you can be healthy at any size. That is just not true. You cannot be. It's impossible. It's not, So just be how you are, or it's fine how you are, is something I believe is more damaging than actually helpful for someone, and that's where I just wanted to refer to, because I found that very suitable for this conversation.
Yeah. Is that the one with Jillian Michaels on the Jubilee
Yes, exactly.
YouTube
That's
channel?
her, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. That was very interesting, because I looked at it and I was like, wow, okay, that's very interesting. And I could tell it was identity. People was coming in and she was saying this, and it's like, yeah, but this and this. And it gave me, the body positivity gave me something back. And then you could hear, this is identity again. It has nothing to do with the claim. And they were defending this like, you're attacking me, and then you can see, this is what I mean with awareness. If there's no awareness, it always ends up like this. It starts with first you start making jokes, then there's justification, then it starts with this, and at the end, like when nothing else works, it gets personal.
Yeah because also you haven't dealt with something much deeper, and you're unable to,
and there's a lack of grounding within yourself, with who you are,
right
that's the thing.
In 2026, the masculine sphere is kind of a hot topic now. Where do you think in 2026 men are, or which areas do you think men are struggling right now?
What they're struggling right now, I would say it is with connection, and also belonging. So identity, I would say yes, identity is one of the biggest things, because the old ways that existed, that we believe was the heroic man and the man that did not feel any pain, it died. And you also see how women are evolving on a mental, from a mental perspective. They're making crazy jumps. And of course, this is something that you cannot just take one cup and this counts for everyone. But if you just compare men between women, then women are here in terms of development on an emotional state. And that's a problem, because as a man, you become more and more unattractive because you're not aware of who you are. And women, they can smell. It's like a shark in the water. When you lose blood, they smell that. They already can sense that, and I think when it comes to identity, like, what is true masculinity? It's not the alpha Andrew Tate stuff. It is really, are you grounded? How do you deal with adversity and understanding? Because there's a difference. Understanding that you have agency. When different things happen in your life, you have agency. If you understand this, you go a very far and long way, and you will avoid a lot of unnecessary situations because you have agency. But if you're just emotional, like super emotional, because a lot of men say, yeah, women are so emotional, but when you look at their reactions, that is very emotional and irrational. And I'm not saying that emotions are bad in this situation, but what I'm saying is, if you are controlled by the emotion, you have lost. That's the thing. You can feel your stuff, but don't be consumed by it. That's the most important part. And identity, disconnection with their partners, relationships. They're just functioning, just like our parents were functioning parents. For the most cases, they were functional. But for example, when it comes to an emotional availability, that was something they struggled themselves. So how do you give something that you've never learned yourself? So, because also a lot of people do not understand, it's not about going against parents, but also understanding their situation and understanding where they came from. Because, it is, they also live realities. And if we even go back, that's a war generation. That was just, you need to function. You need to function. That's what a lot of people do not understand, especially if you're having a hard time forgiving your parents. Maybe look into their past and understand, why they did certain things the way they did it, because that was the best possible thing that they knew at that time when you was that age, And I think that's
Survival.
something you also need to, understand, that it is not all, oh, they were bad to me. You need to understand maybe why. And of course, if something bad happened to you, it like forgiveness does not erase the pain you went through. It is still valid, but forgiveness will help you process easier, but also be open. Instead of reactive, be curious, because I always say also curiosity over reactivity, because you learn so much more by just understanding.
Yeah.
And it's such a freeing feeling and emotion to forgive.
You mentioned something called agency. Can you just expand on that a little bit? Just help me understand what you mean by that.
When life comes at you, you always have a choice. If you look at Marcus Aurelius, if you look at other people, if you look at slaves or prisoners, let's say, they also had a choice. And it sounds hard. It maybe sounds hard, but there were people that really said, you know what, deep side all of this that is happening, they still did what they needed to do to, survive, or they still fought for their kids back home because they knew, I'll go for it. And I think, of course, and I'm speaking from a position I never experienced any kind of this, and this is very brutal. So with respect, I'm saying this with respect, but you have agency in it, and it has shown over and over again that people in the most difficult situations still realize I have agency. The most masculine or the most purest. Let's remove the most masculine. Let's say the most purest human. If you read the Bible, Jesus, there's nothing more powerful than what he did. Like, the sacrifices he made, the pain he went through. And if you look at this, he also has agency. He spoke his truth, even though it would cost his life. And I think that is something, and that's what I mean by having agency. Of course, it doesn't have to be in that extreme, but let's just say you're in a friends group and they all say like, yeah, all women are bitches and all women are this and that, and all women are like this and this. That moment, you have a choice. Do I just say, oh yeah, that's true? Or I say, hold up, I'm not cool with that. Knowing that the friends group, most of the time that is with men, they say, are you gay? Or what's your problem? Or what's wrong with you? You're soft. You understand?
Yeah.
Then you have this dynamic. But in this moment, you have agency to say, listen, no, this is not cool with me. And this is a boundary that I do not accept. Because if you accept it, you become the problem. That's where the quote comes from. It's not all men, but it's always men. That's where it comes from. Because you do not walk away, because you're not aware that you have agency. And that's what I mean with agency. You have the choice to then say, guys, this is not cool. Okay. I'm walking away. And that's having agency, and not just giving in to say, oh yeah, but what will they think? No, that's you being a coward. You have to step up and say, listen, no, that's not cool. I'm not going to have that conversation with you. You're not going to speak about women that way, because think one step ahead. That's why I love chess. Few steps ahead. You need to think a few steps ahead. Imagine you get a baby girl, you get a daughter or two. Will you think the same way? Would you want a guy that has the same mindset like you date your daughter? Would you be cool with that? Just be very honest with yourself. Would you be happy with that? And if the answer is no, you should sit down and reflect on that, like deeply and long. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I appreciate you sharing that. That's so true. And I think maybe it's not related, but I think I did practice agency by walking away from that conversation because it wasn't aligned to what my beliefs were. So I think that is,
you're staying true to yourself in that moment. You're choosing self-love and your values over a dynamic that, is not aware of those things. And you can have, I'm not saying that once you hear something, you can always have that conversation with people. I would not to say, you said this, okay, bye, cut them off. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is you can listen to those situations and you can say, guys, I don't find this cool. Let's think about it. Let's think about this, because you can name me every detail from Naruto or Dragon Ball or some kind of anime, but when it comes to those things, one of a sudden it gets difficult, it's like that doesn't match, so we need to sit down and actually reflect on behavior, and am I actually making the world a better place by just being quiet, not using my agency, and just sitting behind there and saying, oh yeah, that's the way it is. That's where you have agency. That's the moment.
Right. Sure. Okay. I love that agency. Makes so much of sense when you kind of explain it and break it down of what it actually means. sometimes we can throw out those adjectives and just say, okay, agency. But what does it actually
What
mean?
does it
So
mean?
thank you for sharing that. If you're speaking to men directly right now who are struggling in this moment with silence, what would you say to them in this moment?
Keep God close. That's my most important part. Keep God close. Look into the Bible and read Matthew, Psalms. I find it very important. Keep God close. God has been a very important part in my life, always has been, always will be. And I'm also trying to be a man of God, walking in that path. That is very important for me because literally it is a life lesson. Like it gives you everything you need in difficulties. When times are good, do not forget, you pray when times are good, you pray when times are bad, you pray when whatever situation.
Right.
We always keep God close, and if you have a different religion, just if it's something higher, then let it be something higher. But for me, it's God, like keep God close and listen, tune into the Bible, take intentional time. I take every morning, that's my morning routine. Every morning I wake up, I hydrate first thing in the morning, do my face routine, and then I sit down and read the Bible, even if it's just 2 or 3 minutes, but just be intentional with that time and put your phone away. The first 60 minutes, put your phone away. Step outside. Do not go on your phone the first 60 minutes of waking. That will change so much before you consume, today there's war, today's this, today women are bad, men are bad. No, keep God close and then bring awareness to who you are, what you want from life. That's what I would say. Because again, everything falls back to awareness. And the Bible will definitely give you awareness and it will make you reflect because the Bible has bars. I'm going to tell you this, the Bible has bars on bars.
That's for sure.
Like the Bible is, wow. It's great. So yeah, keep God close.
Do you keep a Bible with you wherever you go, or even if you travel?
I even have the Bible app, because obviously I have the parables because the old Bible, the way they speak is very old, and sometimes I'm reading and I'm like, what? So I have to then look it up. So I got a Bible that has newer translations, but the Bible's like this.
Okay.
So that's why I also have the app, and it's beautiful. You can play it and with headphones. Listen to it is also beautiful. Or you can just read if you don't want to listen, but you have the choice, and it's just your phone or your tablet, and you're okay. Because if you travel and you only have 20 kilos, having a Bible of 2 kilos,
it adds
so
weight.
that makes it
for sure.
Makes it easier. Yeah.
I think faith comes up a lot in my conversations with people as well. It's always intertwined in whatever action they're trying to perform, whether it be healing or whether it be growth, whatever it is, but they keep faith. And that's, I think most of us, also for myself, faith was something that I held onto dear life for, because without that, it's kind of like your Red Bull, so to speak. It just gives you that energy to keep going, and that one day things will change and turn around for you. So I think faith is a massive
falls
part of
also
that.
back to the whole point of what we were speaking about, agency. Believing in yourself, having faith, and not being a human of small faith. That's what he also says in the chapter Matthew. I'm not sure where, but he says, you humans of so little faith, why don't you believe? And that's when Jesus was speaking to his disciples, and he said, have faith. When he said, how do you walk on the water? He says, come. Then he walked, one of the disciples walked with him on the water. But the moment he started to have fear and lost faith, he drowned almost. But Jesus also reached his hand and said, why did you not trust? Why did you not have faith? And that shows. And it's, like I said, read the Bible. It is, wow. It's just, and it shows faith. This word, have faith, trust, it shows up so many times in the Bible. There was a very cool video that showed, like, they had like a book, and then they let the pages like flip, they let it flip, and then they took a picture for each page, like very quick, and there was like so many pictures that said trust, have faith, trust, have faith, believe in yourself, trust, faith. So it was amazing, and it just shows your self-belief, your inner conviction is so important. That is so important, and that's something you can build, and you must build if you want to thrive in this world. It's very important.
Yeah, self-confidence too, right?
Exactly.
It's something a lot of men struggle with nowadays as well. Is that just to present themselves in a self-confident way, not masculine like in aggressive and like, oh,
No,
I'm a
no, in a
but
confident way. Yeah, being
yes,
grounded,
correct.
being
Yeah.
being secure in who you are, and that's totally fine. You know, if you're short, if you're tall, if you're whatever it is. But the most important thing is be kind to people. Have a good heart, a pure heart. That's the most important part. And if people make fun of you, let them. They do not understand, and that's also not your job to explain that to them. You know your worth, you know your values, and that's all you need to. That's all you need to know, and all you need to do. Be honest. You know, that's also what Michael Jackson put out there. You know, be kind, be loving. You know, try to be a good person. You know,
Yeah.
make that world a better place, because it doesn't hurt if I tell the guy on the street, like, hey, your dress looks great. Or I see a woman and she has a nice, cool outfit. I'm like, hey, your outfit looks great. You know, and I'm not saying this in a weird way. I'm just saying this, like,
Yeah.
hey, a great fit, you
Compliment.
know,
Yeah.
looks amazing. You know, like that will brighten her or his day just like that. It didn't cost me nothing, literally. It was just 5 seconds. Their
Yeah.
day is
Yeah.
probably uplifted, you know?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, acts of kindness go a long way. Cost you nothing, like you said. A lot of us trying to just, and also the whole, the gym thing and the tripods and like, those kind of actions nowadays. It's there's so much of those negative imperfections going on in the world, and sometimes you stay away from it, but also you understand that's not the end all and be all, and it's always like lean towards, and I will guide you. Something like
Exactly. Yeah. It's having trust and faith. That's the most important part. Yeah.
that.
That would be my
If
message.
somebody, thank you, man. I appreciate that. And what's the one truth men's growth or health you wish more people understood?
I would say a truth about men's health is understanding that things can coexist. And coexist means you can be grateful for your life and still want more for yourself. You can be unmotivated and still show up disciplined. And I think this part of coexistence is you can be upset about something and still speak. You can feel sad. You can be emotional and still be a man. You still can be first and foremost a human, because emotions make you human. So
Right.
giving access to your internal world, that's, I think, the most important part. Giving access, or allowing yourself to have access to your internal world and not numb it out the moment you feel some sort of emotion. Stay close to it. Be intentional with that emotion. And when you're intentional with that emotion, you'll learn so much more than just trying to numb it.
Intentional, emotional, and faith. What's that we spoke about?
Agency?
Adjective that. Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The lessons for today from this podcast. So Dwayne, if somebody is listening to this and they like, I want to get in touch with him, where can we get that information?
Yeah, you can find me easily on Instagram, on TikTok, YouTube. That's where you can find me on all the social media platforms out there. And yeah, just DM me, reach out. I don't bite. I'm very friendly. That's where you can find me. Yes.
Awesome. And I will also leave links in the description below of this podcast. So please show some love to Dwayne and follow his career. And I think he's doing an amazing job. I myself follow his journey, and there's so much of wealth of pure information that you can take upon and just incorporate that in your daily life. So remember, guys, today we're always trying to improve every single day, and I think Dwayne was a deep conversation today about men's health and everything that's going on in the world right now. So thank you, Dwayne, for sharing your story with us and your insights. Truly remarkable, and I wish you all the best for the future ahead for you. I will keep following your journey, as well as Peggy's. You guys are an amazing couple and doing awesome things for the world. And I wish you guys nothing but success. And thank you guys so much for sharing your ears and your viewership with us today. Any last words before we leave the podcast, Dwayne?
Yeah, I wanted to say I also truly appreciate the time And thank you for having me. I think that's something very important, because I also say, or my question to you, how do you spell love?
Action.
Time.
Time. Okay.
So yeah, really appreciate that.
You're welcome. Now, guys, thank you so much for listening in today. If you love the episode and it resonated with you, please give it a like, show it some love, share it with people who actually would benefit from this conversation with myself and Dewayne. And remember to subscribe to the channel, follow us on our socials. We're all over the place. We need some motivation as well. Reach out. We don't bite, like Dewayne said. Very friendly people. So thank you guys for joining in today. And until the next one, stay Zen. Thank you so much.